welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany Hill Cook and I run a practice called The Healing Hill. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your energy with me. You could be we have a lot of choices about where we orient our consciousness. You know, we're especially in today's age, and maybe they said this hundreds of years ago, but there's a lot of ways in which our ego can become distracted. And before you know it, hours have gone by and you really weren't necessarily doing anything that was, lending to your experience here as a human being. Today's episode, what I wanted to talk about was what a channeled reading is, specifically with me. And I mean, I've had channeled readings with other people and I'm going to share about those experiences, but just know that no one can really truly talk about anybody else's experience because you're not the one having it. And so for me to say a blanketed statement that this is what all channeled readings are like is just not true. So there are some videos that I've already shared regarding, my gifts. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my gifts. And really, when I'm speaking right now, I don't have anything written. I just open my laptop and click the video record button. And I really don't even know what's going to be said in 30 seconds. It just flows through me because Spirit helps me that way. So in 2020, I had what I call a spiritual awakening. And some people have asked, like, what does that mean? What is a spiritual awakening? Just quite literally, there was my soul, my spirit woke up that year. I was completely detached from spirit, detached from God, in the sense that, what was important was the money, was the job, was the house, was the clothing. It was all material or physical things, which is actually like the opposite of spirituality. And my soul knew it. And so I had a lot of pain inside of my body, specifically my heart. I also had a lot of tummy issues, whether that be, well, I have no problem talking about poop, but some people do. And so let's just say that I just had tummy troubles, whether that be my digestion or my elimination system. It was clearly, I could see it correlated to my stress level, but I didn't know what was causing the stress. And what happened was I was at an organization which I've now come to discern was a cult, no ability to question leadership, and they used my own values against me because one day I did challenge a manager and I was suspended immediately. It was like, we've got a rogue one here, we've got to isolate her, and I was uninvited from any meetings, any office meetings. It was, they were constantly, I had given them so much of my power that they were able to manipulate me in ways that, whatever they wanted to do, really. And they were operating out of fear. They are humans. They have a soul as well. And so, albeit they may be a little lost, or they're right where they're supposed to be, because I wouldn't be who I am today without the experience that I had with them. At any rate, I digress. I don't think y'all have met, I think you've met my cat, but you can see my cat is right there too. Buttermilk, hey. We're getting the back end here. That's fine. But so I got distracted. So in 2020, I had a spiritual awakening, and as a result, some what I would call magical things started happening. I had my first psychic experience where I'd simply called to order paint from Sherwin-Williams, and all of a sudden I was literally in the bathroom with this woman. Like, it was as if I had, astral projected into that room. And I remember asking, and now I look back and it was just this beautiful sacred contract that I had with her, because I've spent lifetimes with this woman, but this was the experience that I got to have with her in this lifetime. And a tree turned to gold in front of me. That happened the day that I resigned. So I was suspended on a Tuesday at the end of April in 2020, and by Thursday I had resigned. It was like these glasses, either the fog had cleared or I had been given these glasses where I was able to see reality for what it was. And the abuses, not physical, emotional and psychological abuses that I had allowed myself to be on the receiving end of. And also I gave out. So I managed people. And so, shit falls downhill. So whatever my boss was doing, I was doing to someone else. So there were other, and then my dreams. I started to become really, I was guided to my dreams and really curious about my dreams. And then I was guided to Michael Sheridan. And so, and your dreams will tell you your life's purpose and really what's preventing you from, from being in that, let's say, from preventing you from actualizing it. And when I say preventing it, you're always right where you're supposed to be. There's never, sometimes when I meet with people, they specifically ask, like, what's my purpose? And if you and I are talking at this very moment, then that's your purpose. Some people might say, am I just supposed to work for the rest of my life and then die? Well, are you working right now? Well, no. Okay, so you've got to reorganize the way in which you perceive your reality, because you're telling yourself that you're working all the time, but you're not working all the time, because if you were, you'd be working right now, but you're not working right now. Mind you, these were all dialogues that I had myself. And so whatever you're doing in the moment is your purpose. That being said, there can be times where you're existing and an influence of mom or dad or society is preventing you from fully experiencing life. And I'll give an example. What would be an example, Spirit? Let's say whenever you enter a room, you have a tendency to scan the room and take in all this information. And maybe you're even like, unconsciously or subconsciously position yourself in a corner of a room. Well, walking into a room is not an unsafe experience. Maybe there was clearly a point in time where walking into a room was an unsafe experience. And so now, instead of allowing yourself to be open-hearted and entering a room, you're already going to find something that's wrong with the experience. What's wrong in this room? Because I will guarantee you this. Whatever you are searching for or seeking, you will find. If you are looking for negative things, you will find negative things. If you are looking for love, you will find love, patience, compassion. Again, whatever the core value, whatever the emotion is, you will find it. And so that's a way in which dreams will show you, hey, due to the way that dad didn't show up for you as a child, you don't trust your environment. And so today you've got to work on healing the lack of trust. And I would say you start with where you're at. You don't need to go to necessarily the root of it, because you want to know how it's manifesting in your current life. Sometimes knowing the origin of it is helpful, but it's not necessarily important. You just need to know what's not working current state and what would be working. What are you seeking to call in and what are you seeking to release? At any rate, and so I started to know that I had gifts. And I knew that God existed. There was no denying. I always say he, but God is genderless. And I don't want to get into a whole woke leftist, rightist debate, but really, because God is everything. God is everything. But I traditionally refer to that entity of God as he. And his presence was inescapable. To the point which I intend on writing a book about my experiences, and I've already started putting together, as of recent, I've been guided. I made this visualization board earlier this year, and one of the energies I wanted to call in was my book. And so I've started, so you can ask for things. Spirit, help me with this. Spirit, help me with that. And so I've started putting together a timeline because it was such an intense experience, and there were so many beautiful things, also a lot of scary things that were happening. But because a lot of it was I was alone, and I know that was by design. At any rate, though, I started to, by the end of 2020, I knew that I had gifts, and I started to, from my gift, one of my psychic gifts is, psychic gifts work through the clairs. Clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant. I think there's like 12 of them. Some people work specifically really well with nature. Some people are more musically oriented. There is, I would Google spiritual gifts and you'll be guided to where you need to go. But I would get these images of my spiritual leadership gift, and like me healing mass amounts of people, like being on a stage and having an entire auditorium filled with people that I am the channel that God is working through. And so after quitting corporate America, after quitting a cult, I was able to not go back to work for about 9 months. I had savings, and then I also had stock in the company. The company I worked for was privately held, so once I left the company, I couldn't have stock in that organization anymore. I had to be cashed out, which was a blessing. And by 2021, I was taking a channeling course with Michael Sheridan, and I knew that was part of my calling. I love delivering messages from spirit for people. Now I have I have a business, and I've got a website, and people book with me. I also, though, when I'm out and about, like sometimes I'm just driving down the road and I get an urge inside of me that says, stop here, pull over. And I'm thinking, I don't need anything here, but it's not for me. So I get out and, I go into Harbor Freight. I could give two shits about tools. I don't need any tools. And so I'll walk around for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's just a person. There's something that, and, I traditionally ask, are you open to a message from spirit? And I would say 9 times out of 10, they say yes. There's only been, I would say it's more than 9 times out of 10. Out of all of the time that's happened, and I mean, I went on the road in my RV for a year and a half. Out of all the time and all the messages I've ever gotten, there was only one woman ever that said no. And it was really, really quick. It wasn't like, it was no. It was immediate. I could feel the fear inside of her, which is okay, because if somebody would have said that to me 5 years ago, I most likely would have responded the same way. Rather dismissive and fearful. Like, this is a witch, a bad witch. This person has malintent. This person can't possibly know me. I didn't believe in God, so we're never disconnected from God, but I was detached from, my, it's like in order to be a bright light, you have to be dark. In order for the most love to exist, the deepest hate has to have existed as well. That's the yin and the yang. So I was in a really, really dark spot before I had my awakening. And so for me, I lost my train of thought. I got distracted. I live near the laundry facilities at an RV park, and so there's people walking quite a lot. I don't mind it. I like the fact that I get to walk 20 yards to do laundry instead of like half of a mile or a quarter of a mile packing that shit. And then I've got another neighbor that just moved in, and so out of the peripheral of my eye, I can see people walking like 20 feet away from me. They're obviously outside, but so I apologize. I just got distracted. But let's see here. So I was taking a channeled course, and I was doing channeled reading as well for people. And so this video that I wanted to make was like, what is a channeled reading for me? When you book a channeled reading, what is it like to meet with me? Well, it's really pretty similar to what how this feels right now. It's a conversation. I meet with individuals via Zoom, so it's virtual. These sessions, with the permission of the sittee, of the readee, of the person that I'm meeting with, I record the sessions so that they can have them afterwards. I don't do anything with those recordings. That wouldn't be ethical for me to do anything with those. And so a copy of that reading is sent to you to review or to watch, whatever you feel. Whatever, you could post it wherever you want it. I don't care. You have permission to do that. But sometimes people ask, like I recently went to a woman's house and I did a group reading. There was about 11 women, maybe 10 or 11, I don't remember exactly. And we called in, I called in, well, I'd say we, because the energy was all of ours, messages for all of them. And one of the questions that they asked was, who are you getting this information from? And to tell you definitively, I do not know. To tell you it's Tom, Dick, and Harry, I don't know. To tell you it's your Grandma Harriet or your Uncle Roger, I do not know. This is what I tell you. Before I meet with you, I ground myself. I connect myself to the center of Earth. And this is all done with my third eye and with my energy. I connect myself to the center of Earth, and there's some other nuances regarding energy and visualization. And then I connect myself to God. I connect myself to Source. And I pull both of those energies in, and they meet at the heart space. And some may ask, how do you know that you're connected? Because we all have experienced goosebumps, right? Goose pimples. We've all experienced that. Imagine feeling that tickling all the way through your spine. And it's really warm in my heart. That's what it feels like when I'm connected to spirit. That's when it feels like when I have the energy of God running through my chakras. And we all are channels. We all experience that. We all have the ability. We all have 7 chakras. We're all genetically made up of the same things. And so that's how I know that I'm connected. Now, the messages, so, and who it is specifically, I do not know. Now, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll get an image, because I am clairvoyant. So I'm clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant. Sometimes claircognizant is clear knowing. I just know things. Like, don't do this thing. Why? I do not know, but do not do this thing. Leave this group. Whatever it is, your neighbor's pregnant. Sometimes I just know things and I have no idea where I got it from. Well, I do, but it's from spirit. So, with my clairvoyance, there are some times where I get an image, or it's like a movie's playing, and ironically enough, or oddly enough, on a cell phone where you can like scroll in, closer to get an image, or maybe, you can fast forward 10 seconds or or go back 10 seconds, like on a podcast. So I have the ability to do that too. Specifically, I use it a lot with diet. Sometimes people meet with me and they're like, is there anything I need to know about my diet? Or maybe they're specifically having issues associated to diet, but they don't know what it is. So one of the exercises I use is, I imagine the conveyor belt at a grocery store, and I ask spirit to put the fruit, I was going to say fruit, but the food that is good for this person and bad for this person. And if it's bad, I want you to indicate it by being like moldy or like black. And so then I'm able to see these foods, and I don't have to close my eyes, but sometimes I do. I'm able to see the food, and I go, do not have this. You're supposed to have this. You can have this, but you're having too much of it. So you need to cut back on the amount of cheese or something that's come up recently. Or, sometimes it's onions. That was one that just came up, and it wasn't raw onions. They just didn't like when they were sauteing them. Again, nuances to this person's experience. And so, sometimes though, I will get an image of like an old photograph. And in the photograph is the person I'm reading for and their grandmother. I don't know that it's their grandmother. So when that happens, clearly the grandmother is coming through in that reading. But, I wouldn't say, hey, the energy of your grandmother is here. It just doesn't happen like that. Now, sometimes people will say, do you get any information on this person? Now, then because we're always able to receive, so then I can actually, I have more information, and so I can actually like anchor myself to the energy of a name, a relationship, etc., and then call in more information. But some people, not all mediums, no, let me back up. All mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. And I know some people that, I'm talking the way that their gifts work, it is fucking phenomenal. They can, I can share this. I have one friend that one of the gifts that she has is she helps lost souls cross over. So after we leave this plane, we go back to the spirit world. And for most folks, they hang around less than a second. It's like they're here and then they're gone. But some folks want to hang out for a little bit longer. And apparently, and I'm going to use time, even though in the spirit world there is not a dimension of time, if you hang out here for a little bit longer than, let's say a few days, that connection to go home is less obvious for the soul. And so you can get stuck and lost in some places. And so, like, sometimes she'll literally hear people screaming, not in the sense of like she hears like a longing, a voice calling, and she's able to go wherever, follow the voice, and then help souls transition into the spirit world. I don't do that. That's freaking phenomenal. And thank you for your sharing of that gift. So who I speak with and whom I call forward before we meet, is your spirit team and your higher self. And you may go, spirit team, I have a team. I don't, who are these people? Well, not every one of these entities, that's what we'll call them. You're an entity, I'm an entity, these beings, not every single one of them is even incarnated as a human. Sometimes they've never even been a human being, but there's some sort of guidance or lesson or teaching that they're going to provide. So it's on an energetic level. We all have guardian angels, and I am able to communicate with angels as well, and that's an entirely different energy when the angels come through in a reading. I don't know how else to describe it than that, and I'm trying to describe what it feels like to be me. It's kind of really difficult to describe the way that your mind, body, and soul operates in tandem, in harmony with one another. But so we all have a team of spirit guides, and some of us, our soul has evolved so much that even though we are flesh and blood a human right now, we're actually incarnated guides. So we're especially Earth right now is going through an ascension. And if you're interested in learning more about that, Google Earth's ascension and you will get a lot of information. Not all of it's good. I would say Ann Tucker would be the best resource for that. She's a spiritual leader that I trust, and she posts videos every Friday of her communication with the angels. And they go into detail around what the ascension process looks like. But essentially, Earth is going from a third dimension to a fifth dimension. The frequency is raising. More light is going to be invited in. To my understanding, we're actually going to be able to see angelic beings in the form of light. Because angels essentially, they vibrate so high that they have to lower their frequency, and then we have to raise ours to communicate. So anyways, but everybody has a team of spirit guides, and some of them you have your whole life, and then when they're incarnated, you're supporting them from the spirit world. But I get two that I have regularly. One of them is Anne Hill. and my middle name is Hill. So this is going to be coming from my grandmother's side. I do not know who Ann Hill is. My sister's middle name is Ann. My mom's middle name is Ann. My grandmother's middle name was Ann. And so presumably it's somebody on that side of the family, but I don't know who that person is. And then the other one I get is like, and this image of this guide I can see very clearly for myself, and it's like a monk. I'm talking like it's got a little bit of that Buddha, that little belly with the belt cinched below the belly. They're in a robe. The robe is darker. The cinching underneath the belly is lighter. And I don't necessarily get a full on, like even right now I'm communicating with them and I'm asking them to like turn around, and okay, they just turned around, but traditionally I almost see just like the side of them. I don't like, kind of like, this is the image that I get. I don't necessarily even see them. And here's what's even more cool they're sharing now is like, I'm going to see what they want me to see. So that may not even be, they may not have even, well, they're telling me right now they've incarnated physically in this world, but they could actually kind of like pick and choose what they want me to see and what they look like. So, but anyway, so all of us have guides. When we meet, sometimes people want to know what their guides look like. Sometimes I can get that information and sometimes I can't. And I'll tell you this, I'm honest. Like if I'm not getting information, I will tell you I'm not getting a clear answer. And there's a few things, there's a couple of reasons as to why that is. But the primary one is that you don't need to know that information. It is not time for you to know. It's not necessary. So I'm going to transition here a little bit to what readings I have received from people. I meet with this gal by the name of Kendra, I would say almost quarterly. She lives in northern Washington, and I'll figure out a way to share her information. I'll ask how she would like that to be shared to all of you. But she is a channel, clear as day, and I'm telling you, like, she gets to the root of things. I mean, plan on crying with her because she is a truth speaker. But she uses tarot cards. That is her way of communicating with spirit. I don't use tarot cards. I just communicate. So she uses cards to channel that information. I also have gotten readings from Ann Tucker, as well as a woman by the name of Elizabeth Rose, the Rose Cottage. And those two women are trans channels, and they specifically communicate with angels. They go to the angelic realm, and it is a little different in the sense that specifically with Elizabeth Rose, there's her body moves in ways. It's like she's kind of being moved by the angels. That's just what happens when she meets with you. So to some people it's a bit of a distraction, but for me it feels so yummy and loving, and I've gotten such great results. Like, we need to clean our energetic body, whether that's with, saging, a massage, a swimming. Some people, like, going to Elizabeth Rose is like going to a counselor for me. It literally, I can feel the angels raising me up. And when you get risen up, the lower vibrational energy goes away. And so, that's been a really cool experience for me, and something that I have found really beneficial. Other people I've met with, so when I meet with people, I encourage them to come with questions, stuck points, whether it be associated to career, relationship, whatever it is, love. Come with questions, and so that way we can have some talking points. Now, is because I can get those answers for you. But sometimes spirit will take us on a different path, because what you're concerned about isn't what you should be concerned about. And we need to highlight something else that you should actually be focusing your energy on. But I've met with other people where we just meet and they just tell you, they just talk at you. That's not personally my style, because there's not a lot of sharing. It's just a lot of telling. But some people, again, I don't know who you are, so that might be really, really welcomed on your end. Somebody just telling you what's going on. Let's see here, what else? The readings, I do 30-minute and 60-minute readings, and at the end of it, obviously you get a copy of it as well. So, but the messages, I'll tell you, they come from a place of love. Even if there's something that they're trying to make you aware, it's really beautiful the way that they're going to communicate it. But what's going to be, how it happens is I get information, and then it's on me to reorganize that information into a sentence. And so really the way you hear me talking today is going to be the way that you're going to feel when we're in a session, but it's going to be specifically for you, as opposed to this is going to be made for whomever watches it. I've called in the energy for all, whoever would be benefited from this. So that's what a channel reading is like with me. Some information. I hope you found this beneficial, and I love you all very, very much. And until next time.